6 after 10 o'clock, and we're into the final interview of the morning. This time around, it's with you, Dr. Ahmed Haroon Jhazbhay. You are a lecturer in political science at UNISA, and you're also a researcher at Media Review Network. Assalamu alaikum to you. Welcome to the program. And let me start off with my opening statement by saying that Hezbollah leader Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah has said that the Iranian-backed group's barrage is a reprisal for the assassination of a senior commander for Shukr last month. And they go on to say that that reprisal has been completed as planned, but also that the group would assess the impact of its strikes. And if the result is not enough, he goes on to say, then we retain the right to respond at another time. What do you make of that statement?
Walaikum salam, Julian. Shukran to you and the listeners. This reprisal where a barrage of rockets and drone attacks at a number of military installations in the Golan Heights in northern occupied Palestine was expected. It's been a long time, about a month since Fuad Shakur was assassinated by the Israeli entity, and Hezbollah has vowed to respond. It took its time to respond, assessing a number of targets. It attacked a number of surveillance installations, drone bases, and a number of other installations of military significance. But what we see from the Israeli side is that they have said that they also launched a preemptive strike before Hezbollah launched their strike, destroying a number of rocket launches. Said Hassan Nasrallah disagreed with this and opposed this as propaganda. So at the moment, what we are seeing is that neither side wants a full-out escalation. Israelis have said that they will deal with the matters as and when they come up. Hezbollah, as you stated, has said that this round of retaliation is complete. The actual, significance of the strike, it happened 40 days after what is called Arba'in in Iraq, Iran, and some parts of Lebanon, which is 40 days after the martyrdom of Imam Hussein on the 10th of Muharram. So that was the significance of the date chosen by Hezbollah. It's obviously meant to send a message to the Israelis. But what we are seeing is that the Israelis do not have an appetite for an all-out war, precisely because they do not have the Americans' backing for an all-out war. You cannot go to war on multiple fronts with Hezbollah, with Iran, with the Ansarullah in Yemen, and with Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Gaza. It cannot do that simultaneously without American help. So at the moment, what we're seeing is that the Hezbollah's retaliation is over, but that the real significance of this is that Hezbollah keeps Israel occupied as well in the north. And as long as they keep Israel occupied in the north, it means that resources are being pushed to the north, and less resources are being pushed to Gaza. So we have to look at the number of geopolitical as well as military significance of this attack. I don't think it's the last of it to come. I think the lower intensity war will continue, but for now, the region avoids a full-scale war.
At the introduction of my program this morning, I talked about the situation and also said that I don't think that the Western countries would actually support a regional war, because the implications globally will be very far-reaching. I think financially and politically, there'll be huge ramifications, and I don't think Western countries can afford for this to break out into a full-scale war. And I think you're also suggesting some similar sentiments. Let me also just go on to read a statement by Netanyahu. He indicates that rather his foreign minister has suggested that they don't want a full-scale war. However, Netanyahu goes on to say, even though They don't want a full-scale war. I don't think anyone can afford a full-scale war in the region right now, not even the global community or global politicians. But he goes on to say, we are determined to do everything we can to defend our country. Whoever harms us, we harm them. And on the same note, also, I've heard certain analysts suggesting that the reason for this long wait before Hezbollah did this retaliatory attack was also to play psychological games with the illegal occupiers. How do you see it?
Yeah, no, so certainly. I think psychological warfare is an intricate part of any warfare, and this particular war that has been ongoing since October 7th is no exception. Netanyahu will talk tough as he normally does because he has to satisfy the hawks within his cabinet, most notably Itamar Ben Gavir and Belalel Smotrich, the most hawkish members of his cabinet, not to say the others are angels, of course.
Absolute hardliners, absolute hardliners.
Headliners. So he has set aside them, but they seem to have the most power within that hawkish cabinet. So people will talk tough. The West will do not want a war, and they're trying to push for ceasefire, whatever that means in their instance. They're trying to push for ceasefire while satisfying Israel and not the Palestinians. They are willing to give Israel continued control over the Philadelphia corridor as well as the Netzarim corridor, which separates north and south of Gaza, while so-called, giving a ceasefire in return for release of hostages. That will obviously be unacceptable to us, Hamas and Islamic Jihad. So there are a number of issues at play here. The West will understand that Hamas is far from being defeated, and any sort of ceasefire has to satisfy Hamas as well. There needs to be, excuse me, a permanent halt in hostilities. According to the Biden administration, May 31st ceasefire outline. However, Israel is continuing to shift the goalposts. And for that, the blame for absence of a ceasefire lays on its hand. But the point is that, the West cannot satisfy Israel and have a ceasefire. It cannot satisfy the internal dynamics of the Zionist entity. It cannot satisfy Netanyahu in the sense that giving Netanyahu political immunity or criminal immunity within Israel. That is all internal issues for Israel to deal with. So, there seem to be a lot of issues here, and trying to satisfy Netanyahu and internal issues while satisfying Israel's image and so on for its failure to have a decisive victory against Hamas and Islamic Jihad. What I do suspect is that this war will continue, unfortunately, for this foreseeable future. There are ceasefire talks ongoing at the moment in Cairo, but as long as Israel wants to occupy the border region between Gaza and Egypt, as well as separate North and South Gaza and have a continued military presence, there is not going to be any ceasefire.
Okay,
And
we do know that. Absolutely. We do know that the agreement in Gaza, that ceasefire talk that took place in Cairo, as you've alluded to, neither Hamas nor Israel has agreed to the compromises presented by the mediators, although we are told that a senior US official described the talks as constructive. I'm not quite sure what constructive in their language means, and says that the process would continue in the coming days. I'm wondering, has the focus kind of shifted for a short while from the genocide in Gaza because of the American elections? And do you think that there might be some changes, there might be a shift in strategies as far as ceasefire talks are concerned? We've both expressed our views that neither side and neither can the Mid-East region afford a full-scale war, because the repercussions will be far-reaching. It will be global. It's going to impact on the entire globe. So I'm just thinking, current situation in America with all the hype around the upcoming elections, would that make a change at all, or not?
I think, yeah, the current elections that are forthcoming in America in November are playing an instrumental role, because the Democrats who currently run the administration in the U.S. are under immense pressure from a certain caucus within the U.S. to have a ceasefire. They know that they're going to lose the elections. They know if there is no ceasefire, and they know that the Arab American vote has a potential to swing, the elections. And if they don't get this Arab American vote, they can kiss the elections goodbye. And Arab Americans, rightfully so, have conditioned their vote on a ceasefire in Gaza. So they're trying to satisfy the Zionist lobby within the U.S., as well as trying to satisfy, the Arab Americans. Well, something's got to give. You either satisfy the almighty powerful Zionist lobby in AIPAC, or you satisfy the Arab Americans, and you potentially can extend power via Kamala Harris. We saw during the Democratic National Convention, they had, they spoke about the protest and so on, which means that they understand that there's a lot of pressure, and they need to understand there needs to be a ceasefire for their own political ends. They do not care about the suffering of the Palestinians in Gaza. So a lot depends. That's why there seems to be a lot of push from Anthony Blinken and the Biden administration. However, Netanyahu, for his part, is playing for time. He knows that Trump is his man. He knows that Trump is very au fait with him and will, give him whatever he wants, no questions asked, which is why he's playing for time. These negotiations are a delaying tactic. He has no intention to reach agreement, which is why he's playing hardball. He knows that they are, I think, 2 months or so, 2.5 months, or just under 2.5 months until the November election. So he's playing for time, because if you have a Trump administration returning to power, Israel will get whatever it wants, no questions asked.
I think that's where we leave it.
Yeah.
That's where we leave it. But sadly, either way, whoever comes, whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans, even if Trump is Netanyahu's man, the plight of the Palestinian people is not going to change. And 300 plus days on, almost 50,000 men, women, and innocent children killed, Gaza being blown to smithereens, and the hardship continues for the people of Palestine. I don't think whether Kamala Harris or Trump comes into power is going to change the situation of the Palestinian people. And all I say to the imperialist whites is, guys, you're definitely on the wrong side of history. I think 10, 20 years and in the future, you're going to be truly judged for these heinous acts of yours, and all the, the collusion that happens and is happening with Netanyahu and foreign Western powers. Well, in the meantime, we'll just sit, watch, and wait and see what happens. Dr. Ahmed Haroon Jhazbhay, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you indeed for your insights, and Assalamu alaikum to you.
Wa alaikum salam. Shukran for having me.
It is exactly 10:20, and that's where we wrap up for the day. Thank you indeed to our producers for putting the show together this morning. All I can say is take care, stay safe on the roads until tomorrow morning at the same time. Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz from me, Julie Ali.